Hey guys, Matt Allen here. Welcome back to TacticalBassin. Today we're doing a spring gear review. All sorts of new things have come out, from scent to line to a variety of baits and rods and gear, and we have been trying all of it, searching for those gems that are worth taking a look at. If you've been part of the Tactical family for any length of time, you know these are one of my favorite videos to do. I am a tackle junkie, and this just lets me scratch that itch, man. I love experimenting with new gear, new tackle, new soft baits, new hard baits, and there's no shortage of things to try, right? I could spend all day, every day, trying to track down all the crazy new things that hit the market. There's a huge rush around ICAST, there's a huge rush around the Classic, but almost every day of the year, someone is coming out with something in the fishing industry. It's crazy. So we try to track all that stuff down, play with all of it, and then report back to you with the gems, the things that really stand out and that I think can make an impact in your fishing. So let's start right here. Okay, American Baitworks just came out with bait fuel. This is scent. If you guys have been a part of the Tactical family for a while, you have probably noticed I never talk about scent, ever. There's a couple of reasons why. For the most part, I don't use it. Now, that's not to say I don't think that scent works. I do. I know that it works. But a lot of the scent that is on the market doesn't work. It's not science-based. It's just they come up with smells that attract fishermen, not fish, and they put them on baits. And this bait smells like grape, and that bait smells like coffee, and that bait smells like licorice, and off you go. I'm not a big fan of scent. For the most part, the ones that work reek. I mean, they stink bad. And I hate getting that stuff on my hands. I just, personally, I don't like it. So as a whole, I avoid the category. Now, we take a very tactical approach to fishing, thus the name, right? I'm not going to ignore the scent category. I study it constantly. I know that the scent that's on Kitech, the scent that's on maybe half a dozen or a dozen different unique Japanese baits makes a tangible difference. Fish choose to bite them. So I'm always watching. So these guys, I don't know, 6 months or a year ago, I saw a video roll by on Facebook that American Baitworks was taking a scientific approach to scent. And they're only the second ones I've ever known to do that. And they're the first ones to do it not in-house. So they went to, it was a cool video. They went to, I don't even remember what university. It's been a long time since I watched it. But they partnered up with a university to do an actual study of scent, and they tried all these different things, and they made them into pellet forms, and they were feeding them to bass in laboratories and doing this incredibly in-depth study of what those fish liked, what they actually wanted to hold on to, whether or not they ate them and spit them out, how long they held them, if they held them, all this interesting stuff. And I was fascinated by that video. Fast forward, this stuff finally hit the market. Here's the best part, because I already said I hate the way scent smells, most of them. It smells like nothing. Nothing. Which, I don't know if most fishermen are gonna believe that that works, but it does. I've already seen the difference. Now, I'm not gonna say every time I dip a bait and stuff and throw it out there, fish like rush to eat it. It's not that. But I have already seen in some of our underwater footage, baits that I've dipped in this stuff, and I'm messing with fish, and all of a sudden a fish will like swim over, eat it, and spit it out, because they do that to lures constantly. When we're shooting underwater footage, so often those fish suck them in and spit them out, or just barely pick them up and drop them. And I watched a fish suck it in, spit it out, and I swear it almost looked like he was thinking about it. And he sucked it in again, vacuumed it up, and took off with it. That is fascinating. The first cast I made was a shaky head I dipped in this stuff, caught a fish. Second cast, caught a fish. Third cast, did not catch a fish. But independently, Tim was doing his own thing, and he called me up and was like, "You're not gonna believe this, I caught a fish on the first cast." Like, so did I. So there's definitely something to it. I studied, they had like I don't know, a couple more videos that have come out since then. I studied all those videos. I'm really interested in that scientific approach to creating something that bass actually like the taste of. And then even better, that I don't care when it gets on my hands because I can't smell it. I'm all for that. So pretty amazing product. And if you're not familiar with these gear reviews, I will link everything down in the video description in the order that we discussed them to make them really easy for you guys to find. So if there's something you're interested in, it'll be easy to locate. So that's number one. Let's go. We've got all sorts of things. Should we do hard baits, soft baits? Let's do soft baits first, okay? Here we go. This guy right here, the Roboworm Sculpin. If you guys aren't familiar with the Sculpin, here's the cool thing. So this just came out, only it's not brand new at all. The Roboworm Sculpin existed for a very long time, and it went away a couple of years ago. But with all these tournaments up north, I think that's probably what's got them bringing it back, because the Sculpin, if you don't know what a Sculpin is, you should Google it, but Sculpin are a critter that bass eat everywhere. And this bait is one that Tim and I have done an incredible amount of damage on in the past. And I'm so glad to see them coming back. Because if your tackle shop used to have Roboworm Sculpin, and then they went away, and then all the packs disappeared off your shelf, that might have been me. I searched high and low for these things. Specifically, this is my color. I'll just be honest with you. That's why I'm holding 2 bags. I'm like, this one's pretty, but this is my baby. Oxblood Light, man. I have caught more big largemouth, more big smallmouth on this one bait in this one color. Nose hooked on a drop shot, deadly. It's got this sort of a fanned out tail that's got a great action in the water. I also like to throw these on just a super lightweight jig head. Tim is the one who figured that out. But that Roboworm Sculpin is not a new bait, but a returned bait. And I don't know if I thought across the entire market of things that had gone away that I wish they would bring back, this was a top 3. I'm so glad to see those returning. Next, this one right here, XZone, Adrenaline Craw. Not a new bait. We've reviewed it before. We shot some underwater footage of it last year for you guys. I love throwing these on a wobble head, you know, a swinging jig head. Absolutely love throwing them on that. They're deadly. So not new. The reason it's here is specifically I wanted to show you guys this color. TW Dark Junebug. Okay, so when I throw wobble heads, hands down, Junebug is my color. I mean, 99 out of 100 times I throw Junebug because I like to throw a wobble head post spawn, and post spawn Junebug is magic. It just is. But the Junebug that these guys had was pretty fluorescent. I mean, it was bright. I wish I had one here. I don't have one with me today, but it was bright. Still caught fish, but I was pumped to see that they came out with a darker Junebug. That one is the deal. So we're headed into wobblehead season. I already bought a pile, so I thought I would tell you guys about them for the guys that are on that same pattern I am. Let's talk some of these random items, and then we'll talk hard baits, and then we'll talk gear, okay? Oh, Seaguar Basix. Interesting stuff. I had to buy a bunch of this. They announced it at ICAST, and then it took forever to actually get to the States. And it drives me nuts when companies do that, but everyone does it. So what this is fluorocarbon. Here's the deal. It's cheap. Cheap. Like 10 bucks a spool cheap. So after playing with it quite a bit, here are my thoughts. It lays down incredibly well on the spool, which for the beginner guy or for a budget-minded guy, this is huge. Okay, so it's inexpensive fluorocarbon that actually behaves well, because fluorocarbon can get pretty rigid on the spool. It doesn't like to lay down nice. It can be difficult to work with, but it's also crystal clear. I mean, there are some huge advantages to fluoro over mono, especially on a straight line. I use a lot of mono leader but my straight spools are fluorocarbon. So it's great fluoro, it lays down really well, and it's super cheap. I would say about the only real negative that I saw is that it's pretty thick for its size. So like I use mostly Sunline. I use Assassin and I use Sniper, Super FC. Both of those, so like this 15-pound is as thick as those like 17 to 20-pound lines. So it's a little bit thicker than a more expensive fluorocarbon. But I mean, again, it's like 10 bucks. So for the budget guy, the guy who wants to try fluoro, doesn't want to spend $3,000 a year on fluorocarbon, pretty darn smart by Seaguar. I'm gonna hand it to them. They did a good job. Hooks. Two owner hooks for you today. This one right here, we love throwing the cover shot. Okay, so the cover shot is a drop shot hook, but it's a straight shank drop shot. Pitching around wood, mainly pitching around grass is where it shines. So you get to set up your bait weedless instead of nose hooked. The downside of the cover shot for me has always been that when I do that, I'm typically fishing bigger largemouth around grass. And sometimes I end up bending them out. Well, they just came out. Apparently I wasn't the only one with the HD, the heavy duty version. Genius. Thank you, owner. That hook is gonna be money. It's already money. Just a little bit stouter, a little bit stronger. I can throw that on 10, 12, 14-pound line, drop shotting around cover, and I can actually get those fish out consistently. That, again, was genius. The other one, owner was on a roll this year. They came out with the Haymaker. You wanna talk about a nasty, nasty hook. Look at that thing. So the idea here is that you've got a wide gap hook that will take a variety of baits. I love flipping on wide gaps. Tim likes to flip on straight shanks. I just personally, I like the feel and the way it works. I feel like I stick more of my fish. I just do better on wide gaps. Guys just seem to go one way or the other. It's completely split, except that this is now right down the middle. So it's a wide gap hook, but you don't go through your bait and then text pose. You put it through like a straight shank. It's that perfect best of both worlds. So I've got my wide gap hook, but I've got that straight shank angle for just amazing penetration. So heavy cover, flipping, Texas rigging, that Haymaker. Again, nice work, owner. There are so many things that get made by every company, right? They just redo the same stuff over and over and over. 8 brands, they've all got the same basic hook shapes. When people, or same with baits. When people branch out and do different, I really appreciate that. And that Haymaker, that's different. That was smart. All right, next one. Speaking of different, first gen fishing top spin. Is it? Did you get the concept when I held it up? Top spin, not underspin, top spin. So, we all know spinnerbaits work. We all know underspins work. Why was I not the genius who thought somewhere in between would be pretty smart? Nicely done, guys. So, concept being more finessey than the spinnerbait, but a lot of times when we throw underspins, we bottom crawl them, and you go so slow, the blades themselves aren't even spinning, right? They're under the bait getting dragged. They're just banging and clanging. Catch fish. They do incredibly well, but they're not doing what they were designed to do. This is interesting. So little tiny blade. Now the heavier ones have bigger blades, but this is a, what size is this? Same blade? Yeah, 1/4 ounce. So little tiny blade, and then this, it just totally collapses. That's just not in your way at all. A very unique bait. This was smart. Clear Lake guys. Guys where everyone and their brother throws a cool baits now. Different look. Same profile, different look. That's a 3.3 Kitech, by the way, for comparison, for size. This was smart. I really like that. All right, 4 hard baits for you, and then a rod, tackle box. Actually, let's go right over here first. This guy. We try to review a backpack or 2 a year because the bank fisherman needs ingenuity too. They need guys designing new things for them that make their lives easier as well. The last one I did was a big bag, an amazing bag, but it was not inexpensive. It was designed to carry a lot of gear. This one is the total opposite. Check out this little bag. So this guy, incredibly comfortable to wear. It's tiny. It's not in my way at all when I'm fishing. Water. Let's open this thing up. Let's see what we got here. So, it's a hydration pack. It'll hold 1.5 liters of water in the main compartment, and then there's room for other stuff in there as well. We've got strap to hold a spare rod. So this is your minimalist bag. They call it the Urban Angler, right? But it's a minimalist bag. You want to be lightweight. You want to cover ground. You don't want to be getting beat up. It's got a pretty rigid frame, super lightweight mesh, so it's nice and cool when you're wearing it. It's got room for a spare rod, cell phone pocket, next pocket. So I've got this guy stuffed in there. We're gonna come back to that. We're talking about that box too. But I was able to get a box in there, and it's set up, it's got an internal pocket, and it's set up with worm bags already in it. So you could throw your soft plastics in, and I'm able to fit both. And then you can also, in the next one, easily fit a 3600 size box. Now, for those of you that didn't know, I kind of like that bait when I'm trout fishing. Just FYI, ginormous, kind of embarrassing, giant box of Countdown Rapalas, but I just grabbed a 3600 box to be able to show you guys the fit. So it will hold a ton of stuff, but it's tiny. And then again, I've got 1.5 liters of hydration, and I've got room for more in there as well. Probably the best bank fishing bag. Now, granted, you know, everyone's got their own style. Like when Tim bank fishes, he's usually carrying 3, 4, 5 rods and a lot of tackle. I tend to do the same thing when I'm bass fishing, but when I trout fish, I'm like a 1 rod, couple little boxes and go. And more, I just tend to be that way. So this is incredibly convenient and comfortable and just not in my way at all. Trout fishing, bass fishing, whatever it is that I'm doing. Now let's talk about this little box. I stuffed this guy in there because it fits perfectly in that second pocket, but this is Spro. So Spro came out with this terminal box. They've got them in 3 different sizes. This is an interesting box. So I don't want to do it while it's tipped up, but I'll show you. Spring loaded, pins every compartment shut. And then the compartments themselves, they come with a divider in every compartment, but you can pull them out. So I've pulled these out so that I can get bigger hooks in. These I left in. Just an incredibly convenient system, and it pins every single compartment individually in place, so nothing is mixing between compartments. It's also waterproof, and again, comes in 3 sizes. That's a nice box. Bank angler, for me, obviously terminal. I've got a terminal box set up for bank angling with this, and then I also use this size box for my hair jigs. So when I'm up north smallmouth fishing, I'm fanatical about my hair jigs. I'm also fanatical about hair jigs for float and fly. So I have dedicated boxes this size for all of those. I have my spy baits in boxes this size. There's quite a few different things that I like in those smaller containers, and this is the nicest one that I've ever seen for that style. Okay, Now we've got, let's do the rod and then we'll do hard baits. We got 4 hard baits there. The rod, St. Croix Legend Tournament Bass. They just completely revamped that entire line of rods, and they did an excellent job. Balance is excellent. They're very, very comfortable in the hand. Some of them are full grip, some of them are split grip, but that bulbous section that used to be on them has gone away. They're really, really comfortable. Now this one specifically, it's no mistake, just like I grabbed this just because of the color. I grabbed this guy just because of the model. So this one is the Big Cranker. The Big Cranker is a rod that I have used for years. I'll bet I've got 500 bass, maybe 1,000 bass on that one rod throwing mid-sized crankbaits. The only thing about the Big Cranker that I wished it had just a tiny bit more tip in it, because I felt like it was perfect for my mid cranks that had, let's say, size 5, size 6, I'm sorry, I'm going the wrong direction, size 3 or size 2 treble hook, so like a 6XD, a tactical DD, perfect for that size crank. But when I got down to a size 4 hook, so like a Deepex 300 type bait, a mega bass, just not quite enough tip. I felt like if I got a giant on there, they could pull those hooks. Well, lo and behold, the new one, I didn't tell them either. Somebody else did. Just a little bit softer in the tip section, which takes this rod, I mean, it's a big rod. So the model is Big Cranker, but the actual part you need to know, 710 heavy moderate. I don't know where they come up with the heavy part. I see the moderate. It's a soft rod and I really, really like it. So the Big Cranker was already one of my favorite cranking sticks. We've talked about it for years. This really opens it up. So everything from, say, a Deepex 300 through a tactical crank, a Deep 6, a 6XD, all the way up to probably an 8XD. Not my favorite rod for a 10XD, but up to about an 8. Really, really nice rod. They did a great job with these rods. Now again, this is just a model that I've connected with for years, so I really wanted to see the new one, but I played with a couple of the others as well. I played with the Drop Shot Special and a couple others, and the entire line got revamped and they all feel really good. But the Big Cranker has always been one of my babies, so I had to try the new one right away. Okay, we got 4 hard baits left to go. Let's go here. Ow, get out of my finger. All right, Savage Gear Fat Tailspin. Just another tailspin coming to market, but they did a really good job. So tailspins have been on a big boom the last 3 or 4 years. You know, they've been around forever, but all of a sudden, all these companies are coming out with new tailspins. But I will tell you, Tim and I wreck fish on a tailspin. I throw a tailspin 12 months out of the year. I wouldn't have said that 4 or 5 years ago. It's kind of a newer trend for me, but I found that sweet spot. I mean, I can just catch fish on them. I can catch them when they're up shallow around bait by steady swimming it. I can catch them down deep by winding and stopping, where it flutters up and then swims down, takes off, swims down. I can catch ledge fish on them. I can catch offshore fish on humps and deep points. I catch all species of bass on them. Catch a lot more than bass on them, so you catch every species that swims on them. But tailspins have really taken off for me personally, and judging by all these companies coming out with them, they've taken off for the industry as well. So Savage Gear came out with this fat tailspin, narrow bodied, and it's a great size. So that's a 3/4 ounce, okay? So great size with a large blade, and blade size will determine how slowly that bait falls back to bottom. Some different things set different tailspins apart. Overall size of the body creates your overall profile. Overall size of the blade impacts how quickly it will swim back down, and then obviously hook arrangement too. But that is a really nice bait. Another tail spin for you, 6th Sense Gyro tail spinner. I picked this one up because right off the bat I saw it was a plastic body or resin body or something like that. It's not just a poured piece of metal. As a result, they had some really interesting color schemes. Now, first thing I noticed was its size. Okay, 3/4 ounce, 3/4 ounce. The thing is massive in comparison. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing. So in my mind, where that's a good thing is going to be when bass are chasing bigger shad, right? Sometimes you want a bigger profile and you don't want to have to go to a huge heavy weight to do it, because those heavy weights, like a 1 ouncer, you can't really fish it up in shallow water. So you can't get the profile and the weight and get it dialed in. So I think that is really unique. It's much larger than literally all the other tail spinners. Now, for deep water, I think that's a negative. It's harder to get it down there. But as a result, I did notice it has a tiny blade on the back of it. And my guess is that they were trying to make up for the size of the bait, right? See how much smaller that is? My guess is they were trying to speed up the fall to make up for the size of the body. So as a result, you're gonna have less vibration, but more overall profile. And then it has a swiveling hook hanger, which I think is great. Comes with an EWG style hook, which is great. There's some things about it I really like. A unique bait, definitely different than all the other tail spinners. For me, probably not going to play in my deep water category. I've already got a Damiki and my Jackall that I just crush with out in deep water, but I was looking for one to throw up shallower, and I think it may be a really good option up there. We will see here in about a month. The bite I need it for is coming. So I've played with the bait quite a bit, but the actual bite that I want it for has not arrived yet. 2 more. Just like the tail spinners have taken off, blade baits have just exploded on the market. They're not new, they've been around forever, but my gosh, it seems like everybody thinks they need to make one. Well, River to Sea, this little guy is called a Glassy Vibe. Just came out, but here's the cool thing. Do you think I ordered this bait? No. I dug so deep in my tackle to go back in the day into the stuff that got discontinued that was awesome, and I still kept a stockpile of them to get to my Glassy Vibe. The Glassy Vibe came out years ago and was ahead of its time. I don't think guys understood what it was for. It is a blade bait, but it's poured in some sort of a resin around metal. Through wired, it's incredibly strong, and you get this great look that you can't get any other way because it's clear. So they have some really unique colors. And again, when it came out the first time, blade baits hadn't really taken off like they had now, and I think that it just didn't resonate with people. They didn't know how to fish it. So I'm really glad to see River to Sea, just like Roboworm did with one of my favorite soft baits, River to Sea has returned the Glassy Vibe to the market. If you are a blade bait guy and you haven't thrown a Glassy Vibe, do yourself a favor. I'm pumped to see these coming back. Clearer water, I'm thinking north, giant smallmouth, clear water. The clearer the water, the more the fact that it's resin rather than metal comes into play. It's just a different look and different feel. But that is a deadly bait that has been resurrected. And then last but not least is this little crankbait right here. Jackall Mushbob Shallow Runner. Okay, a little Mushbob 50. Small square bill. I love little square bills. That's not a secret. Tim and I are fanatical about our square bills. If we stacked our square bills up, oh my gosh, we would sink a boat with the things. But we're always looking for those baits that are different. So when I saw this guy, I saw its overall size, it's tiny. I saw how small that lip was. I said, I've got to have that. I'm constantly looking for more crankbaits that run in that 0 to 3 foot range, right? Super shallow square bills. I just love them. There are a segment of bass that go shallow and stay shallow in everything but the clearest, no grass having highland reservoirs. Everywhere else in the world, if there's grass, there's shallow water, there is a segment of the bass population that lives there year round, and a square bill is a great way to get them out. So the Mushbob got my attention because of its size, but when I got it, the color schemes, next level. They, for all the dirt shallow crankbaits, hands down the best colors. The only thing about this bait that I was bummed about is that if I make a bomber cast on light line, I would say that I'm probably getting 3.5, 4 foot of dive depth, which for the average guy is good. For me, I'm trying to stay dirt shallow, so that's actually a little deeper than I wanted. So what I do is I throw it on 15-pound line instead of on 10 or 12-pound line. That helps keep it up, and I'm fishing in that 2 to 3 foot zone, 18 inches to 3 foot of water, and it's perfect. Now this bait has a really unique action. When I burn it and stop it, burn it, stop, burn, stop. Whenever I stop it, it does a hard kick to the side, a really hard kick, and sometimes it even wanders a little to the side, and I love that. I don't like baits that just stop and go, stop, go, stop, right? I don't like that. I like baits that do something. That's how you trigger a reaction in a bass. So between these incredible colors and the fact that it's got a really unique action and the fact that it will fish shallow, this instantly became one of my favorite square bills. Crazy sharp hooks on it. I mean crazy sharp. I keep stabbing myself. That Mushbob 50 is definitely a winner. Now there's a deeper runner as well. I haven't tried it. I will try it, but I have not yet. The shallow guy spoke to me and I had to have him, so I was immediate on that. Guys, hopefully something in there stood out for you. If it did, again, I'll link it all down in the video description. Tim and I love to try and find those gems that will help you. It's incredibly cost prohibitive to try everything new on the market, right? We know that guys can't do that. We also know that we are fanatical tackle junkies. So for us, we're able to justify some of that spending by looking for these things that will help other people. So it's a win-win for both of us. I get to scratch that itch. You guys get to find some really cool baits without having to break the bank buying all the other baits that didn't work. But all in all, it's just too much fun. Again, I'll link it all down in the video description. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you soon.